Okay, so we're going to start in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. It's a prayer to Saint Joseph. Saint Joseph, protector and guardian of Jesus and all foster and adopted children, we entrust to your care all children and families involved in the journey of foster care and adoption. Grant them comfort in times of pain, keep them safe in moments of danger. Show them love in seasons of despair. O most holy guardian, who did not hesitate to fulfill God's will, we ask that you raise up more families to care for children in need of parenting. Intercede for us at the throne of grace, that we may accomplish the mission to which the Lord has called us in bringing children to him. We make this prayer through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son. Okay, so welcome. Just as a brief introduction, my name is Sue Warren. I am married to my husband Jordan, and we have 5 daughters, the youngest of which we adopted out of foster care. Our youngest daughter is Riley, and we did that in 2026, right? Nope, we did it in 2025. So my dates are a little off. But we've been foster parents since 2022. And once we adopted Riley, we had a full house and a full car, and I knew that my journey was not done with foster care. And so we decided to maintain our license. And ironically, I was just retaining it, not necessarily to do any more active foster care. I thought I would just do it for the simplicity of, hey, who knows, maybe someone will throw a baby at me and I need to take them in. But respite care has come from that, so in that way I am continuing on as well. And I know that regardless, I need to support it, because I've seen how much support is needed and what the need is for foster care in general. And so I started thinking about, probably back in January, about a ministry that I wanted to do where I could support, but that was a someday. And then in May, Amy came to me with the ministry, and someday became right now. I didn't even really look into it at all. I just saw the general sentence, and I was like, that sounds perfect. It's clearly time to happen. So that's kind of where the Springs of Love, opening a Springs of Love chapter came. And so what is Springs of Love mission? The mission of Springs of Love is to help Catholics discern and live out the call to foster and adopt, while also equipping parishes to walk alongside families who do. Fostering and adopting are not easy. You go through just about every experience that you could think of, and things that you could have never thought would happen. You have every emotion, every type of struggle. But because of that, these are a list of the things that Springs of Love has decided that is the best way to support. And so we start with faith-based formation. Foster care is definitely a ministry, and I feel that way. I was talking to some people last night, and they aren't involved with their faith, but they were interested in it. And the more I was thinking about it, just like we can't love without God being love and giving us love, regardless of if we know He is real or not, I feel that foster care is a ministry, whether people are looking at it that way or not. And so with this ministry, I think that we're really trying to really show the diocese in general, and show our different communities that it's a ministry as well, so we can look at it that way. And I think that will change how people look at foster care. They also require encouragement from other families going through it. I know personally, being able to chat with people that are going through the same thing has made a huge difference for me. And they need the support of the church community. And I think this is kind of where we have fallen short. Just in the past, when I became a foster parent, I was shown to a lot of different resources, and the most of them were, or a lot of them, I should say, were from different other, denominations. And so Springs of Love was founded to meet this need. And it's a young ministry. I believe it's only been around for 2 to 3 years. So they're still figuring out, but there's already been so many blessings coming from it just in the beginning. So these are the 3 areas of focus. Awareness, which is both bringing awareness of the need for foster families to inspire new foster families and increase parish involvement. Accompaniment is just mainly to support the families, walking alongside them. And community is building community. That's pretty self-explanatory. So we are, basically, how do you start your own chapter? What is that going to look like for us? So there are chapters all over the country. I don't know the number, but it just seems to be really growing as time goes on pretty quickly. So this is going to be out of St. Jude, but it is the representative, we're the representative of the diocese. So this is not going to be something that we're just looking to St. Jude to support. This is a diocesan effort. And the really great thing is, and I don't know that everybody does it in this type of way, but we are partnering with our local Catholic Charities. So we're with Catholic Charities of West Michigan. And just so you kind of get an idea of what that looks like, there's also Catholic Charities of Muskegon and the Lakeshore. There's a Catholic Charities in Benton Harbor. There's a Catholic Charities in Lansing. I can't think what the other one is of the 4.
Yeah. Yes. There are a lot of them.
Yes. So a lot of different Catholic Charities, and so we are partnering directly with them, and I think that's going to make a huge difference and why we've been able to get this going so quickly. So we've myself and Aaron and Amy that are working together to start this. We decided to focus on just families that are working with Catholic Charities, and that the first 3 months, when we start in September, the first 3 months are going to be basically our pilot program. And so that's kind of why we're starting with a specific group. And that is typically around, like right now I think it kind of is around 29 families. I don't know how that's grown as the last time that I got that number. But part of our mission of Springs of Love is also to increase foster families. So the hope is that we just continuously see growth in that area. And usually I believe there's about 90-ish children in foster care through the agency at one time. And so that's a big need. That's large numbers of people that need support. And so first we're going to start by reaching out. Within this month, we're hoping to reach out to the families that are in our foster program, and we're going to ask them what their basically what their need is, what they of the things that we are offering. What are you interested in doing? And so that's going to look different for every family. I'm not taking in freezer meals because that would simply be to just make it easier for my life in general. I don't have any foster children at the time. That would be pretty lame if I received them. I would love to have prayer, just to keep us motivated and keep us open to taking children in. And so there's just different things that, every family is going to want, and some families have no interest in doing this, but that is an important step to figure out what our demographics are going to look like, and who are we serving and what are their needs. So Springs of Love gives the parish, or the chapter I should say, the freedom to look at the community and diocese and decide what is needed. It's also encouraged to choose one area to focus on, whether it's awareness, accompaniment, and community. So we decided to whittle it down to basically 4 goals. We basically want to do a limited number of goals and do them well, as opposed to doing a lot of different things, every type of thing that they offer, and doing them poorly. So with the first area that we're looking to do with awareness, there's basically going to be 2 things that come under that umbrella. We're going to have faith in fostering, which we've been doing already, and that is going to parishes and offering an opportunity to speak with Catholic Charities employees and myself, and giving people the information they need to potentially discern becoming foster parents. And then, so that's more of an awareness for the need of foster care. We're also going to do an event such as on September 19th, we're hosting basically our kickoff picnic. So that's kind of more an awareness about the chapter in general. And then Mother Cabrini Sunday, which is in November, and that's really just to bring attention to all of it, all of the above. And so those are some things that, one, I will also eventually talk to you more about, but will be covered by this, under this awareness umbrella. And also under that is we will eventually have donation drives to get specific needs taken care of. So those are the things we're doing under awareness. With accompaniment, this is where we're really going to be looking to start hard on and really grow as the ministry goes and as time goes on and we are able to perfect what we are doing. So the first thing we're going to be doing is a meal train of sorts. We are going to have a freezer meal program. And right now we have graciously been offered to use the space at St. Alphonsus for, I guess, a home base for the freezer meals. But my high dream goal would be to have 3 of them. So one south, one in the middle, St. Al's, and then one in north. But that's kind of as time goes on type of thing. So basically we're starting, our original thought was 4 meals a month so that they could each have a meal per week that they could just not have to think about. But then we started doing the math, and depending on how many people want that could be a lot of meals. And starting off the bat, that may not be the smartest thing because you will under-deliver. If we get tons of meals and we're able to over-deliver, that would be great. So we're going to start with 2 meals delivered by a delivery person at the start or throughout the month at one time. So they'll get all their meals at one time. The volunteers needed for that area would be obviously food makers. I don't know if there's a better word to say that for that. And then the deliverers. So it's not on the person who's making meals to go bring those out. Someone like myself who can't cook my way out of a paper bag can do the deliveries, for instance. So there's, just through that, there's something that, covers different skill sets. There's a lot of things we can do with the meals as far as them being made. We can reach out and just have regular people that every month they make a large batch and divide it up into, say, 4 to 6 meals. I'm thinking about having my youth group come and we do a night where we just make a ton of freezer meals. And so just different things like that. That's something that maybe if a parish was particularly excited about, they could do kind of a more larger scale type production, I guess you could say. The next, which is probably the easiest thing to do, but also incredibly necessary, is the prayer ministry. So what the volunteers needed for that would be, I would say, 1 organizer to make sure that every family is covered that wants to be prayed for, and then the people that pray. And so that really is huge because you never know if, like, there was a lot of people that were praying for me during foster care, and I felt it like crazy. So it may be a simple spot, but it's very necessary. The next thing is going to be I need to find a better name for this, but basically the foster baby gear and other stuff closet. So we'll come up with a more all-inclusive type thing because we started with the idea of having a place where people could go to get the baby gear that they need quickly. I mean, if you get a call about a baby on Thursday night, it would be really great to not have to freak out and panic, knowing that you could go to St. Al's and find a pack and play and these things, and you don't have to spend a ton of money. So the idea is that it would almost act as if it's a library for the materials. So people check it out, and you're not always going to have a baby that needs a pack and play. So then when you're done, you bring it back. And the other thing I was thinking about is if I don't want people to worry that if they donate and they wind up pregnant, if they end up getting pregnant, then they have to worry about, oh, I don't have this stuff, I have to go buy it. If once it's not used again, you can take it back and remove it from the cycle, I guess you could say. So that's going to cover everything from like baby gear, pack and plays, activity toys, anything like that. Then I was thinking, well, that does not cover the needs of the older children, and so we decided in a non-library type system, we would have packages of underwear available, packages of socks, sets of new bedding, and then ideally we will have backpacks, because a lot of the times these kids come with a garbage bag full of clothes or things like that, and having proper carrying material does make a difference and makes it much more humanizing. And so those things obviously will not be a returnable thing. We would basically just get donations for those individually, or potentially, offering an option where somebody could pay a certain amount to then sponsor one of those collections of materials. That's still kind of somewhere that we're really figuring out. Things that we will not be carrying are diapers, clothing outside of the underwear and socks, and basically any kind of clothing like that, because we are so lucky to have St. Gianna's Closet, which will be right down the street from either St. Jude or St. Al's, and they provide all of those needs. And so any foster families are easily able to go there and take care of what they need. And then St. Alphonsus has food bank and lots of other things that they cover. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's already being done and being done very well. So the volunteers needed for the foster gear closet are an organizer, which at this time will be Erin Walton, and she's going to be kind of figuring out and creating the method in which we check out and return and everything that's needed. Then we just need, which we don't really need this, but this is again one thing that I would really like to get to the point of, having like 3 parishes, South, St. Al's, and North, of just knowing you don't have to drive 40 minutes to go deliver the pack and play that you want to donate. That we could have a place where someone can drop these things off, and then someone can make a drive and take a lot of things at one time. So that's my hope eventually. And then this will also require donations, because all of this will be something that, especially the baby gear will be stuff that we will ask people to give. And I think that we're going to have a really easy time getting baby gear donated. And so that's going to be located out of St. Alphonsus, and that will also be where the freezer meal supply is going to be held as well. They gave us a room and a freezer, so we're very thankful. Another thing that we will not be doing, which is we're basically doing a lot of what's under accompaniment. Childcare, you will see, is listed there, which is ironic because the first chapter meeting, the national chapter meeting I attended, they were telling us that we aren't supposed to be doing childcare. So they need to revamp some of the materials, which is coming soon. But the reason we're not doing childcare is because there's so many things that could go wrong, honestly. We don't want to have the liability and the uncertainty of things that just can go sideways in things like childcare. And so their rule is, aside from maybe having an event where there's kids being kept maybe in the gym playing around, we're not going to have, and we send some high schoolers down for that, there's just not going to be childcare. I think a lot of times people also, when they think about foster care, they think of, a lot of times they may think of respite care, where they want to do a babysitting or an overnight to give the people a break. But a lot of times I don't think it's considered until you really are getting the texts and the calls and things like that, what a diverse amount of scenarios and circumstances these kids are coming from. So not everybody is going to be prepared to properly care for these young people. And so we're not going to be doing childcare, and that's what they want us to not do it. So we're celebrating. Some things in the future that we would love to do. One are birthday boxes, and so basically the idea is you have everything you could need, relatively speaking, to provide a family that needs to have a birthday party. So cake mix, frosting, balloons, party favors, things like that. And then we can give these so that the kids, it's not that I don't think that they're already celebrating their birthdays, but they probably have a lot on their plate, and what a nice thing to not have to worry about getting the means to do that. So that's something that I'm really hoping that we can eventually do. The next one is office care packages, and when I say that, I mean that there's a lot of times that we, especially the older students or kids that they are eventually sometimes hard to place. They end up hanging out in the offices all day and sometimes overnight. And so obviously no kid wants to do that. It's probably boring. You're already stressed out. You just have to sit around with your thoughts. So we're gonna try to create a care package of maybe activities and snacks and things like that that we can have available to them, so that it's not quite the drudgery that it could be. So that's something that is also, though, probably like phase 2, I would say. And then in community, this is something that we will add on eventually, maybe next year, but not a ton. Will be something like the mass and the meetups, you know, mass and dinner and kids can play kind of thing. But I don't foresee, they have it says building belonging. That's a lot of like support group type ministry and just small group leader-led ministries. And that, you know, I will never say never, but at this time I don't see that becoming a part of what we're going to be doing. So the next is a video that at first I wasn't going to show because it's more like, I would say inspiration to, my original thought was it's more inspiration to become a foster parent, but I think through hearing these 3 families' stories, it really shows you, heck yeah, they need support going through all of this. So I did think it was a really good video to show. So.
You know, when we were dating, we just talked about having a very large family. And then we had 4 biological kids, and then we found out we couldn't have any more kids. So it kind of was like, you know, what does that mean for us? Where do we go from here? So I was like, what about foster care? And I just kind of researched it a little. And everywhere I went, something happened where God's like, yes, now. So we got a call, it was like 2 in the morning, and it was January. It was cold. I remember driving there in the snow. They were like, here are the boys, sign, and you know, they hardly had anything. And I remember putting him in our car and just like looking in the rear view, like, oh my gosh, what did I say yes to? You know, this is crazy. They were 1.5 and 2.5. And I get home, and I had called PJ and William home, and I said, run a bath. They're pretty in rough shape right now, pretty dirty. You know, we didn't wake up our kids, so I think one of them shared that she woke up and just kind of walked into the living room, and there was boys sitting there, and she was just kind of like, oh, hi, you know, oh, there's some new kids here.
Like, these kids are coming from broken homes. Their parents come from broken. It's just this constant cycle. So, you know, for me, I loved my childhood growing up. It was just awesome. Until I had my parents and my brothers and my sister, and realizing these kids don't have that. Trying to give them something similar to that is, I think, is a lot for them. Even if it's 3 weeks or a month or whatever, you know, I think it's something that is beneficial for them. Some type of stability.
I'm a RN in labor and delivery in a local hospital that's pretty busy, and I just started seeing more and more patients come in and mothers come in who unfortunately have been using drugs throughout the pregnancy, and as part of my role I would be, you know, help and assist with the delivery of the babies, and you know, we deliver these babies and then kind of what's happening to these children, and if they're going into foster care, you know, what does that look like, who's caring for them. So I think that was kind of my big push at that point, to really seriously consider fostering. And then I kind of presented that idea to Joe.
I said, no way, not gonna happen. I was quietly open to the idea, just because I knew I needed to do more. I was very comfortable in my life. I agreed to go to a class. There was a video that they put on, and on the video, there was somebody who quoted something from Matthew, actually, and the verse was, any man who finds his life will lose it, and anyone who loses his life for my sake will find it. And when he said that, it just hit me. I just felt like I can sacrifice a little bit of time here and there to try to help somebody else out.
2 months later, we got a phone call for a little boy who was 7 months old, and he was going to come to us, and we needed to go pick him up. I just remember them wheeling him out in his little stroller, and he just looked at us with this little smile, just this innocent little baby. And just right then, I was like, oh my gosh. He had a little bag with a couple of clothes in it. So we brought him home and introduced him to our kids, and immediately fell in love with him. That was our first placement. We got a phone call that when he was with us, that there was family that was available to potentially, have him go live with them. So we got a call December 23rd, 2020 for a little girl who was 3 weeks old, born exposed, and in the NICU. And so we said yes. We brought her home December 23rd, and she's our daughter. She became, we adopted her this past summer at the age of 18 months. She's 2 years old now. So we now have 4 children.
When I was 9 years old, my mom told me that I was conceived out of abuse, and she just was in circumstances that weren't ideal. She found out that she was pregnant with me while she was in jail, and she said when she saw me on the ultrasound that she knew that I was her daughter, that she loved me, and that she was going to give me life. And so I was born to a single mom who with a lot of hurt and a lot of trauma, and that led me to enter the foster care system when I was 3 years old for the first time. And then my mom loved me so much, and she wanted to do everything in her power to be my mom and for me to be with her. And so she worked her case plan, and I reunited with my mom. But then as I got older, my mom's mental illness got a lot worse. And so I had to re-enter the foster care system again as an adolescent. And this time I entered with my sister. We're 9.5 years apart. And I thought this was like an opportunity for me and my sister to just experience normalcy, to have a family, to escape the abuse. But within a month of being in that first foster home together, we were separated, and I was moved to a group home, and then I moved a lot more. I moved throughout 12 homes total throughout my entire foster care experience. Felt very displaced, felt very unwanted. It was said that I was unadoptable. I had a track coach that came into my life my sophomore year of high school, and people told him, like, don't get involved with her, she's trouble, she'll get you in trouble. But he thought she's just a kid, like all teenagers, all kids have their stuff. And by my junior year, he had become like a father figure in my life. He told me that I could do and accomplish some pretty crazy things. Just straight out told me he thought I could go to the state track meet and win it. Never even been to the state track meet individually. So that was like a pretty crazy idea, but I thought this crazy old man, I'm just gonna listen to him, and we're gonna train together and we'll see what happens. And throughout that year we became very close. I emancipated from the foster care system, was instantly homeless, but he welcomed me into his family, and he said that I could come live in his home. And that year I went on to be a 4-time state champion in track and field, and that's what allowed me to obtain a full ride scholarship to college. And in 2018 I became a part of the 3% of youth who graduate from college with a bachelor's degree or higher. And so it is so crucial, like it is the most important that we as the church, we as a community, as people speak life into foster youth's life so that they know like God created you good, like you are loved, you are his beloved, you're a child of God. And if I could say something to people who are hesitant to take in older children or just foster children in general, I would just encourage them to do the next thing in love, that there is no fear in love.
Nope. Alright, that video, like the last girl, like every time I watched it, really got me. And the little baby girl looks just like the same circumstances as Riley, and just looks just like her when she came out with a full head of hair. So I like this attitude. Not everyone is called to foster or adopt, but everyone can do something. And I would say I mean everyone, in the sense that it doesn't have to be take a teenage girl into your home. It could be supporting in the ways that we're trying to through Springs of Love. And I'm a big mouth, and basically ever since I started doing foster care, I don't stop talking about it. I make t-shirts to tell people talking about it. And so it's really become something, like basically when I get into something, I just tell everyone about it all the time. And so I talk about it a lot with people, and there's a lot of people that say, I would love to foster. It's something that I've always thought about. I would love to adopt, but I'm just not in the place right now to do that. And then there's, other people that I just don't see that as a possibility, but they still have that yearning in their heart. And so this is something that you can do. My hope is to meet every volunteer where they are at. So if you're someone that has just a crazy busy schedule, but you still want to support, you can join our prayer ministry. And you can pray and offer up your daily sufferings for this family and their needs. If you're someone that is really good at stuff like make freezer meals, that can be something you do every month. Or, if you really want to engage with the families at our kickoff, you can come and be our welcoming committee, essentially. So I want I don't want anyone to come to this ministry and leave thinking there's no way I could do that. I want to make it so it's doable for everyone. And every little bit makes a huge difference. Every little bit. And just as an example of that, there's a woman that works for the agency that only takes the hard to place kids in the evenings after she gets home from work, and they just basically have a nice, clean, safe space to come and sleep, and that's what she does. And I believe it was this last winter, we really needed someone, and she said, I can do it, but basically my driveway is snowed in and I can't take care of that. And so Amy reached out to me, and I posted about it on our St. Jude page, and we had a wonderful parishioner go right over there and take care of the snow removal. It was a one-time thing, but it made such a difference not only to that woman, but even more so to the child that was in that home that night. So do small things with love. Isn't that what Mother Teresa says? Okay, so I don't want to butcher Mother Teresa. So that is my goal, that we can, if you're not, I'm not in a place to necessarily foster or adopt right now, but I can do something, and I would love for St. Jude as a community to have that mentality, and the diocese to have that mentality. And so I think this is very doable, and I really think that it wasn't just happenstance that Amy came across this ministry. It was perfect timing, and we've already seen the Holy Spirit move so much, and so yeah, that's my spiel. So I figured I'd open it up for questions. anybody has